folks, so we finally had some good news today and Bitcoin's bouncing. That's because the SP 500 is bouncing. As I've been telling you guys, it's all about the stock market at this moment because the stocks have been tanking. That's why Bitcoin and crypto and Ethereum are following it down. And when stock markets are bouncing like today on good news, I call it good news, then that's why the entire market is bouncing. So first, let's have a look at what the good news is. Keep in mind, we've had good news for the last 2 days in a row, and this is the third day, and now the market is bouncing. Why is that happening? So the first good news we had on Wednesday was CPI was lower than expected. That means inflation is lower than expected. PPI on Thursday was lower than expected. On both days, markets went down. And today, markets are rebounding on Friday because of these figures that just came out. What made the difference here? Okay, let's have a look here. The numbers I'm talking about, see here, it's the Michigan consumer expectations, consumer sentiment. Consumer sentiment we see, right, is forecast to be 64.3. It came down 10% lower to 54, right? Consumer sentiment expected to be 63, came in at 58, again 5% lower. And this current conditions for consumers, again 1.5% lower. So these are some pretty weak numbers. Now, usually what happens when we get these sort of really weak numbers is that the Fed would cut interest rates. The expectations on Fed would be high to cut interest rates because the market isn't performing so well. But right now, the Fed is just so stubborn, they're just not cutting interest rates at all, right? And we also see that, look, you can't blame the Fed. The reason why is you can't blame the Fed. Because look at this. At the same time, we had the Michigan one-year inflation expectations and shot up from 4.3% to 4.9% now from the month of May. And the 5-year, US 5-year inflation expectations to almost 4% now, 5% and 4%. That is really bad, folks, because inflation should be around 2%, 2.5% maximum, right? So when people expect inflation to be much higher, like 5%, which is quite high, then they go to their bosses and they say, oh, look, boss, I need a wage rise. I need a salary rise, right? I need a pay rise. And the boss, after enough pressure, gives them that pay rise, right, to match the 5% inflation they're expecting. Then the boss is like, well, I've just lost 5% of my profit. I need to make that money back somewhere. So usually what they do is they hike prices on the product or services, whatever they're selling. And that means you go into a bad, vicious cycle. The workers demand more pay rises because they see inflation coming. And then the bosses just pass that salary hike onto the consumers, right? Because, they can't afford it themselves. So then we see the prices of goods and services coming up, and that's what causes the workers to, again, ask for more pay rises. So we get into a very negative cycle. So let's get onto Bitcoin and crypto and Ethereum analysis. But before we do so, have a look at this. This is the Fed. This is the Fed rate cut probabilities, and look how dismal that is. Okay, before we get on with all of that, quickly for 30 seconds, that just answers the question of which crypto exchange does Pablo use? Well, Pablo uses this exchange that is non-KYC. That basically means you don't need to show any ID in order to join, right? Bitunix, I've made a deal with them, right? For folks who are just joining, it's over $8,000 benefits just for joining and trading. Non-KYC means you don't have to show your ID. That means, yes, Americans can use it. That means the exchange can't even see who you are. That means the IRS can't see you. The tax office can't see you. The FBI, CIA, nobody can see you, right? So many benefits for joining and already 1.3 million plus global users. And the link is in the description below. The link is in the description below. If you're on YouTube, if you're on some other platform, then basically, such as this one, just go to my profile page. On the profile page, there's my stand link. We click on the stand link, and boom, there you go. The first thing that pops up is the Bitunix deal, but only on the Pablo link, right? Only on this link that I'm providing you guys. Okay, let's get back to the markets. Now, we can see here, the Fed basically has, what is this? 1% chance of a rate cut next week, right? By Wednesday, 1% chance of rate cut. So pretty much they're not going to cut rates. And then if we go out, to May, the May Fed meeting, we can see that it's still like 31% chance of a rate cut. Not only is it significant, it's only 1 in 3 chance, less than 1 in 3 chance of a rate cut by May, but also look at this, right? Compared to like a week ago, the chance of a rate cut dropped from 36% to 31%, and that is so significant. That's why this market is not happy at all, because in the last 3 days, we've had lower CPI, lower PPI, so inflation's coming down, and we've also just had, right, the markets, the people tell us that the consumer sentiment is down a lot, and of course the consumers are not feeling great right now because they're expecting tariffs to be hit. Like Trump threatened Canada 50% tariffs on steel and aluminum. Trump threatened European Union like 200% tariffs on wine and all sorts of European Union, EU alcoholic imports. So of course, all these numbers you think would make the Fed cut rates, but the Fed is not cutting rates because, as we just saw, everybody's expecting inflation to be higher. So we're at an impasse right now between the Fed and Trump. They're actually butting heads, right now. So let's see who wins this contest. So okay, now let's have a look at why Bitcoin and crypto are bouncing today. And the reason was actually given, for the last few days I've been saying this. Before we even can tell Bitcoin's bouncing, let's have a look at this. Because I told folks in these videos that I'm making and on YouTube that SP 500 or a spider ETF would bounce off this large green rising channel, right? Off this this is a 550 area. And that's exactly what we've done. I've explained many times why we're going to bounce off here. So now I'm going to explain it again. So here, we've had, for the last 3 days, look at this. We've had 1 bounce, 2 bounce, 3 bounces here. This is the 3rd bounce, and it really needs to clear this 565 level in order to make this a real bounce. We could get rejected at this 565 level again. We really don't want this to be just a daily bounce. We want this to really, push up. Now, another way to look at this is on the weekly chart. On the weekly chart, we want this tail to be as long as possible. So if it can close at this 565 level, then that would be a long wick down, long tail, and a small head here. So that would make it a bottoming tail candle on the weekly chart. But so far, we're not getting that yet. Let's see what happens in a few hours, right? Right now, it's midday, Friday midday in the United States. And then if we get that, then there's a chance we head for the next target of 584. But so far, not yet. So that has influenced the movement on Bitcoin. Let's go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin is basically having a bounce, but you know what, guys? I've been warning about this for a long time now. Let's turn it onto the daily chart. Okay, what do you think of Bitcoin position here, right here? Bitcoin obviously isn't great until it can clear this red line, right? You've got this red line as resistance, and you've also got this blue line. See this blue line here? See this blue line, right? This blue line right here, that is the line of resistance. And for Bitcoin to break above here, it basically needs to break the red line and the blue line and confirm above, and that's about 92K, right? Until then, we could do all sorts of yo-yo up and down, yo-yo up and down. My thinking personally is basically we are gonna pretty much dip a couple more times, right? Like into the 70s, something like this, and then boom. That would give us a stable bottom, like 3 or 4 dips. 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that, and then boom, and then up we go. If even if 109K was the top, then we would still, I think, get at least a big bounce to above 100K, right? A relief rally, they call it, or a lazy shoulder, right? And if 109K was not the top, then I would think, and then we obviously make a new all-time high. So, and a blow-off top to come. So either way, I think we bottom in the 70s with a small chance of wicking to like high 60s, but bottom most likely in the 70s. I think we still could visit the low 70s. That's where the bottom will be, in my opinion, and then come out to something like at least 100K, if not a new all-time high. Now, let's have a look at Ethereum. Ethereum is basically, again, forming a small bull flag here. So let me put it on a shorter timeline so we can see it better. So here's the bull flag, and here's the flag, right? If this flagpole, here's the flagpole, sorry. If the flagpole was longer, something like this, right, then it would be a better looking bull flag. But so far, it's still kind of a small bull flag. And if we get a break above here, here's resistance, 1945 area, 1945 area. And if we break above this area, the next resistance is 2025 area. I think that one will be hard to break. An even bigger resistance at 2150 area, right? Either way, this is only a 2-hour chart, so this is very short term. Doesn't matter how it breaks, right? Like maybe here and then come back, or maybe here, get rejected and come back. No matter what happens, I think Ethereum is going to follow Bitcoin, and Bitcoin basically looks like I don't think it's done yet with the 70s. If Bitcoin can confirm above 92K, and if for a couple of days, and that depends on I think ultimately depends on SPY, where SP500. If the SP500 can confirm above, that level is, confirm above 584, not 565, but confirm above 584, and Bitcoin can confirm above 92K, then I think, the Ethereum comeback is really on. So until that happens, I'll update you guys for more of this. For all the Aussies watching, Pablo uses Swift Text, right? And the my link is in the description below. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll catch you guys next time.